here with Brad Harrington, strength and conditioning coach at Scarlets. Brad, we spoke to you at the beginning of the season, or during the pre-season, obviously a key time for you, key area, getting the players prepared for the start of the competitive season. What have been the priorities now in this first half of your role?
Yeah, I think realising now how important pre-season is now. I mean, pre-season's always been an important time, but I think this year, more than ever, is with the amount of fixtures that we play week in, week out. Traditionally, we've had periods of time when we have a rest in terms of a week or two between games, like November, February, March. I mean, in the past in Magners League, February, March has been 2 or 3 games in 8 weeks. So the way we can train the guys and the way that we block our put our block of seasons together has totally changed this year. I think we played right through November. I don't think we had a week off. So we had to, instead of giving everyone time off this year, we've got sort of split the squad into 2 groups. We downloaded one group, and then a group of players came into play, which worked pretty well for us as the young guys came in and played in the LV Cup and beat Leeds and London Irish away. So while they were playing, our main squad had a bit of time to download. At that time, we also revisited some areas of conditioning for the main squad in terms of guys maybe need to retouch on some strength, power, speed or conditioning. So we were able to have a little mini sort of pre-season, if you like, with those guys in November, as well as a rest, and then bring them back into the squad fresh as they can be, coming in for the big block, which we're in the middle of now, December, January. So that's sort of how it's working at the moment, really.
I mean, obviously, we don't carry as big a squad as many of the other sort of top flight teams in Europe. Does that become a challenge? Does that pose a challenge to you around about this time when you start to pick up injuries? Very
challenging, yeah. I think we're very lucky here at the Scarlets. We've got a good group of coaches in Nigel Davis and his group of coaches who listen to the strength and conditioning stuff and the medical guys. And in terms of that side of I suppose the business, strength and conditioning and medical, we spend a lot of time, a lot of money and a lot of effort researching things like recovery techniques, the best way to get players back from injury, how to maintain a player's fitness through the season. So it only makes sense that the coaches would take some of that on board and implement that into the way we put our seasons together. And as I said, we're very lucky here that the coaches do take that on board. We've got a good bunch of players as well on top of that. And with the work that we're putting in on the strength conditioning and medical side, it's all tying in to help maintain some sort of healthiness throughout the year. I mean, at the moment, I think we've got 8 or 9 players injured, but 2 broken arms, 1 broken leg, 2 knees, 1 shoulder. They're just like car crash injuries now. These guys are just getting absolutely hammered in games, so it's about how we can look after them, how we can get them back quicker. You don't really see a lot of niggly injuries anymore, like hamstrings or groins or stuff like that. They do come around, but it's not as much as it used to. So now we're trying to deal with the trauma of the game. So
is conditioning training, is it much more individualised now per player? So rather than looking at groups, you're looking at each individual, where they are in their game, their age, the amount of game time that they have.
It has to be, especially with our squad. We've got a pretty big spectrum of guys. We've got guys like George North and Simon Gardner and Dan Newton and these guys who are just starting off in their career. We've got guys like, say, Josh Turnbull, Rob, Reese and John Davis who are into about their 3rd season, and then we've got guys like Dave, Vern, Yeston Thomas, Stephen who are towards the end of their career. So they all can't train the same and they've got to be looked after very differently. They've got to train differently during the week. Some guys can train a bit more than others. Some guys can't train for 2 or 3 days after a game because of the way that they play and how their bodies are. So, the only time that we get with the players which is uninhibited is in pre-season. So it's so important that in pre-season we hit the areas that the player needs to target, and they're all different again. And I think we've done that pretty well this year and in the past. And I think we're getting the benefits from that now because we had such a good pre-season. We trained so hard in pre-season. We got guys to where we wanted to go. We're able to download a little bit now and just maintain things and touch on areas that we need to touch on, but really rest, recovery and just sort of training smarter takes over in season when you've got such a small squad. And I think we're doing okay on that side of things at the moment.
In terms of, you said about a good group of players, it's about the players' mentality as well, and how they actually look at not only the performance on the match day, but actually then how they condition themselves throughout the week.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think I've always said, like, a training program or a plan is only a piece of paper. It's only, so if someone just, takes that piece of paper and just goes on with it, there's nothing really behind it. If they buy into that thought throughout the whole squad, which we have, and the coaches behind it, the medical staff, the players, we're all behind the same ethos, and we've got a great belief in the squad, and everyone's buying into where we're going. And the main thing about that is, I don't want to speak for Nigel and the coaches, but I think we're pretty honest. We don't muck around, and we just ask people to work hard and do their jobs. And I think pretty much everyone within the environment, whether players, coaches or staff or volunteers in the joint, I think that's just the ethos of the Scarlets. So I think we're pretty lucky at the moment. I've only been here 3 years. Maybe it's just how it is, but it's fantastic for me because the hardest thing is to get that work ethic. So we've got that work ethic, we've got that belief and the passion. So it's just about putting in place some good structures, which I think we've been able to do in the last few years.
Great. It's been a successful first half of the season. So obviously the whole pre-season has gone to plan. You say you're pleased with how it's gone. How do you manage the Christmas period? It's a question I have to ask because we all enjoy our festivities at Christmas. Do the players see it in a different way, or is it just it's the same week?
I think it's hard. Like it's hard for me, I think, because I'm overseas, so I'm away from my family. So it's different straight away for me for Christmas, but it seems a bit strange. But the other thing is that you always play on Boxing Day, and it's always a big game. So we're playing Ospreys on Boxing Day, so sometimes you sort of can forget about Christmas Day. And I think I'm lucky I've got kids and stuff now, so if I didn't have kids, I might forget it's Christmas, just be thinking about the Ospreys all the time. But I think we're trying to have a bit better balance this year on getting away from rugby and just enjoying Christmas Day. With the boys are. I think the players, for a player, it must be very hard because it's a day where you celebrate with your family and there's kids and lots of food and everything like that. But at the end of the day, the players know exactly what they need to do to turn up ready to play on the day after. So they manage themselves accordingly, and it might be a little bit hard, but I think for us the thought of beating the Ospreys on Boxing Day is the best present that anyone could get. So I know the coaches and the players, as much as we have to make a little bit of sacrifice, we know at the end of the day on Boxing Day that when we win, we'll enjoy a few beers and a bit of naughty food then, I think. But up until then, we've got to keep our heads down and work hard and enjoy Christmas with our families, but the end's in sight, really. So it's such a busy period as well. Like, we've just come off the back of 2 Heineken Cup games. We're going into 2 local derbies now. We're just looking at the Ospreys at the moment, but the week after that, we're straight back here against the Dragons, So, and again, as I say, in January, February, back into Heineken Cup, and where we used to get a break in February, we don't get a break now. So I was just speaking to Nigel then about our next 10 weeks. Like, we're straight through until March now. So I think Christmas is the first step into the most exciting period of the year, and I think the players look after themselves fairly well. And but the main thing is that we've got those big games around the corner. So I don't think it's too hard.
Okay, Rab. Well, enjoy your Christmas. And,
we'll do.
Keep up the good work.
Yep, thank you.